Okay, so we are right on the edge of one of the biggest shifts in technology. And it's not just about changing our software, it's changing how we think. It's this idea of the dissolving interface, and today we're going to unpack what that actually means. So to really get where we're headed, we've got to look back a little. And this quote from Ted Nelson, a true computing pioneer, just nails it. He said, "Almost everything you see on your computer screen is a construct. Somebody made them up." And he's so right. For like 50 years, we'd been using these things, windows, icons, menus, you name it. But here's the thing, they're not real. They aren't the technology itself. They're just these made-up ideas designed to make the machine easier to handle.
And that very construct, the one that's dominated everything for 40 years, well, it's starting to dissolve right now.
So why is this happening? To get it, we really have to understand the old way of doing things, this paradigm that's on its way out. We're talking about the end of recognition. You know, for the longest time, basically since the GUI, the graphical user interface, came along, there was this one simple, powerful rule that everyone in software design followed.
And that rule was super simple. Recognize, don't recall. The whole idea was you shouldn't have to be some kind of wizard who memorizes a bunch of text commands, right? No. Instead, the interface just shows you everything you can do, all the buttons, all the menus, and your only job is to spot the one you need. And honestly, it was revolutionary. It's what made computers usable for billions of people.
But there was a catch. As our software got more and more powerful, all that complexity started to just completely overwhelm the very interface that was supposed to make it simple. I mean, just think about any professional software you use today. The settings menus just scroll forever. You're clicking through 3-4 levels of nested menus just to find one little control. The dashboards are so packed with stuff, they're just scary. And that brilliant idea, recognize, don't recall, it completely backfired. It just became pure visual overload. So you can see the fundamental trade-off here, right? In the old GUI world, it was all about recognizing things in menus. But the price was endless clicking, endless searching. Now, in this new language-based world, it's all about describing what you want. But that introduces a totally different problem, ambiguity. I mean, how do you say what you mean so perfectly that a machine can't possibly misunderstand?
And that very question, that's what leads us to the new paradigm, the one that's taking over. We're talking about the rise of specification.
I mean, the evolution here is pretty straightforward. First, you had the command line. You had to memorize everything. Then came the GUI, where you could just recognize stuff. And now, step 3, with large language models, you just describe what you want. It feels like a natural progression. But this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? What does it really mean to describe your intent well? You know, well enough for a machine to do something complex and do it perfectly. Well, the answer is kind of a paradox, because it turns out to get the kind of precision you need, well, describing what you want stops feeling like a casual chat. It starts looking a whole lot more like programming, just, using English as your programming language. Seriously, think about it. When you want a really good result from an AI, you don't just talk to it, do you? No. You give it specific formats, you list out all the constraints, you might even feed it a JSON schema, which is really just a fancy way to structure data, to tell it exactly how you want the output. You're not just chatting, you're giving it precise specifications. And look, this isn't just some niche thing for power users. This is a fundamental restructuring of the entire software industry. And it's all being built around this new idea called the Agent Orchestration layer. Think of it like a general manager for a whole team of different AI assistants. So the key takeaway here is this. We're not just slapping a chatbot onto an old app and calling it a day. No way. We are fundamentally re-architecting everything. How software is built, how it's delivered, the whole shebang. And if you want proof, just look at the numbers. Check out this one figure, 40%. So Gartner is predicting that a whopping 40% of all enterprise apps are going to have task-specific AI agents built right in by the end of 2026. That is an insane jump, especially when you consider it's less than 5% today. The speed of this change is just incredible. And what does that mean for us? It means the app model as we know it, that grid of icons on your phone, is basically collapsing. Why would you open 3 different apps when one single agent can coordinate all 3 of them behind the scenes to get your task done?
Okay, so this is what the new software stack looks like. Right at the top, you've got the intent layer. That just captures what you want to do. Below that is the orchestration layer, where all the little AI agents figure out how to do it. Then, and this is super important, there's a verification layer to make sure the job actually got done right. And holding it all together is the context layer. It knows who you are and what you need. And this whole system just works, all without you ever needing to launch a single app.
But this isn't just about the technology, right? This goes way deeper. It has huge implications for the one thing we haven't touched on yet, our own brains. Because at the end of the day, the tools we use, they actually shape how we think.
And this is where it gets a little scary. There's some pretty stark research coming out now. Studies are actually showing a significant negative correlation, meaning the more people use AI tools, the worse their critical thinking skills get. The reason? It's something called cognitive offloading. We're just letting the tool do the thinking for us. And what this does is it feeds right into a well-known cognitive bias called the Einstein effect. It's a fancy term for a simple idea. Once you find one really good way to solve a problem, say writing a super detailed prompt for an AI, your brain gets stuck on it. That one solution can literally block you from seeing other ways, maybe simpler or more creative ways, to solve the same problem. You know the saying, when all you have is a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. So here's the real danger. When prompting becomes our go-to move, we start seeing every single problem as something that just needs a better set of instructions. That whole process of exploring, of tinkering, of discovering a solution through trial and error, that starts to fade away. It gets replaced by this pressure to perfectly specify the outcome right from the very beginning. And that leaves us with this really powerful final thought. For decades, we all thought that interface design was just about arranging boxes and buttons on a screen. But we're now realizing it was always about something so much deeper. What we are actually designing are the mental models, the very cognitive frameworks that the next generation will use to solve problems. And that is a massive responsibility. It's something we absolutely have to get right.